Hello there and welcome back to this very shitty inactive YouTube channel. So, I've been so bored recently because I'm in quarantine and I live in Greece. Yes, fun fact, I am Greek. I'm actually Greek, which is the point of this video. See, I grew up on Greek mythology. My grandmother used to tell me stories, and having grown up in Greece, I'm kind of sick and tired of how people pronounce Greek gods in Smite. So I'm kind of just going to make a video, like a one-off, just to tell you guys how to actually pronounce the Greek gods in Smite. So without further ado, let's get started alphabetically with Achilles. Achilles is actually a name that's still kind of in use today, and it's pronounced Achilleas or Archileas. Sometimes you drop the R, sometimes you keep the R. It really depends on the region. But my dog is actually called Achilles, so yeah, it's still a name that's still in use. And then we have Aphrodite, which is also a name that's surprisingly still in use and surprisingly arrogant. Like, imagine naming your daughter after the goddess of beauty. Like, that takes some balls. That's like an investment, you know what I mean? And it's pronounced Aphrodite. See, here's an interesting point I want to bring up. The D in Greek names isn't a D, it's a the sound, which is a sound a lot of English speakers cannot do, which is weird because you use it all the time in the word the, like the car, the train, but when you read it in anything else, you just cannot pronounce it for any reason. But just so you know, every D in the Greek names is a the sound, so it's Aphrodite. Then we have Apollo. Apollo, it's kind of close, because Apollo is the Roman version of the name. Fun fact, the Roman gods are basically just Greek gods, the majority of them at least, even in Smite. And Apollo in Greek is Apollonas, but sometimes people refer to him as Apollo, but that's more of an exception because Greek names change on context, which I know sounds ridiculous, but it's true. And then we have Arachne, which is, again, pretty close to the original pronunciation, which is the Greek word for spider. You're going to see a lot of this in Greek mythology, because we have personifications of concepts, which is what Arachne is, which is pronounced Arachne. And then we have Ares, which, again, pretty close, it's Ares. Just a different type of A. That's really the only thing. Then there is Artemis, which is a name that's still in use today. It's Artemis. Different I, but okay. And then we have a big confusion here with the goddess Athena. Now, the city of Athens is named after Athena because there was a conflict with Poseidon. It's a cool little myth you can read. But the city of Athens is named after Athena. The Greek way of pronouncing the city of Athens is Athena. So the Romans thought that that's how the goddess's name is pronounced, but the goddess's name is pronounced Athena. The tone is on the last A rather than the first one. So, yeah. And a lot of A's here. So now we're going into the C's. There are no Greek gods beginning with B, I think. So, not exactly a god, but we've got not exactly gods in the whole C section, but we have Cerberus. Cerberus is pronounced Kerberos. It isn't a C. It isn't an S sound in the beginning. It's a K. Then there's Chiron, which is Chiron, which for some reason sounds like pig in Greek. But he's not a pig. It's weird. And then there's Kronos. Here's an interesting point I want to bring up, because a lot of people think that Kronos is the other Kronos, which is the father of Zeus, the Titan Kronos. See, in English it is confusing because the only difference between Kronos, the god of time, and also the Greek word for time, is the exact same as the Titan Kronos, Zeus's father. The only difference being the H. Kronos doesn't have a H in his name, while Kronos does. But in Greek there is a way to separate them, because our word for time and the Greek god of time is chronos with an H, while the Greek word for the Titan and Zeus's father is Kronos with a K. So Yeah, that's the difference there. And maybe Kronos can now, be in the game. It sounds like they're putting in Atlas at the end of 2021, which is exciting. So introducing Greek Titans should add a twist. And then we get to H. We have Hades, which is Hades. And also Hades refers to both Hades and the underworld. In Greek, you can somewhat tell the difference, but a lot of the times it doesn't matter, because the way that Hades is mostly used is I'll send you to Hades, or I'll bring you back from Hades, which doesn't make a difference, because when you're taking a soul from Hades, the underworld, you're also taking a soul from Hades, the god of the underworld. So that's why we don't separate them in Greek, because it either doesn't matter or you can tell from context. So that's why Hades, the underworld, is also called Hades, and Hades, the god of the underworld, is called Hades as well. And then we get into another interesting point of linguistics. We have Hera, which in Greek is Hera. I know somebody named Hera, but it's not a common name, I should mention. See, a lot of names that the English language has taken from Greek have a H in them, while the Greek version don't. Like the word history is historia in Greek. And the reason is because the way ancient Greek version of the name had the H. This is before even classical Greece. So we would say historia. And then, when other languages took the concept, they were like, oh, historia, but eventually at some point in history we dropped the H and we have historia. And it's the same idea with Hera. It used to be Hera, and then it's Hera. So there's not a lot of that in the Greek pantheon, but I just thought I'd bring it up. And then there is Medusa, which again there's a D there. It's Medusa, or Medusa, as the more Greekish pronunciation would be. And then there is Nemesis, which is by far the most different name, because her Greek name is Viki. Yeah, it's Viki. It's the Greek word for justice, but it's not used in that way anymore, because the Greek word for justice now is dikeosini. But the word Viki, we mean to say like a court case. So, and that's where Nemesis would be, in a court case. So, makes sense. So now, the biggest debate in the Smite community, this goddess right here, I'm going to put an image up. So, a lot of people say Niki. But here's the thing, she is the goddess of victory. She is the personification of victory. So her name is victory in Greek. And the Greek word for victory is Niki. So her name isn't Nike, it's Niki. I am not kidding you. This is coming from a Greek person, somebody who grew up in Greece. And that's how you say her name. It's Niki. And I have been flamed for calling her Niki, even though that is her name. So if you think her name is Nike, I am sorry, you are just wrong. And then we get to Hades' wife, Persephone, which is the name of my cat. But her name is actually Persephone. Poseidon is Poseidonas. Not really much to say here. And here we come to a very interesting thing. It's Scilla. This is sort of mind-blowing for me as a Greek person, because Scilla, her name in Greek is Scilla, which is the name of a female dog. Excuse me. I'm not retaking that. The Greek version of her name is Scilla, which is our word for female dog, which, yes, is used exactly the same way as your word for female dog, bitch. Yes, Hi-Rez put a god in the game, which in another language means bitch. The Greek Smite community, I shit you not, love Scilla just because of her name. Like, it's such a ridiculous thing to think about, but yeah, there's a goddess in this game called Bitch. And then there is the most accurate pronunciation out of all of the Greek gods, Thanatos, which the Greek word is Thanatos. It's so close, it's almost ridiculous. I've heard some native English speakers that don't speak Greek at all pronounce it almost exactly like the Greek name. And again, it's our word for death, Thanatos. And then there is Zeus. Zeus, a lot of people think it's an inaccurate name, but it's actually kind of a weird history. Zeus has a lot of names. He is the god of hospitality, and the whole myth around Zeus is that he will disguise himself and, well, have sex with women, but also visit people. So it makes sense that he would have plenty of different names. Now, the name Zeus comes from the Greek name Zeus, which is a name for Zeus, but it's by no means the most common pronunciation of his name. The most common name of the head of the Olympians is Diaz. Not Diaz, like he's not a Mexican, Diaz. But no, it's Diaz with a V sound. So yeah, that short video may not get any traction at all, but the point I wanted to put across with this video is I want to get more people from around the world that come from places that gods in Smite are. Okay, let me start that sentence over again. If you come from a country where your culture and your gods are in Smite and you happen to play Smite, make a video like this one to sort of tell us how your gods are pronounced. Like if you're from Japan and you want to tell us how Izanami is pronounced, or Sonowo, and if you're from China you want to tell us how Yui, Huyi and Chang'e are pronounced, which I am probably butchering the names, but hey, that's how everyone says it, and if it annoys you, make a video. These videos may not be popular, but at least it is a resource. So I'm gonna be like the first one to start this. I don't know if there's anyone else that did this before me actually, so I probably shouldn't say that, but I made the video and I'm probably gonna make another video on the Roman gods. Yes, I don't speak Latin, but as I said before, the Roman gods are just basically a copy and a paste of the Greek gods, so I'm going to be giving you their Greek names and how to pronounce them in Greek. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it insightful. So, see ya.